नेचर ऑफ अ रिफ्लेक्टिंग सरफेस, ये स्मूथ शाइनिंग है या फिर ये रफ सरफेस है, ठीक है। ओके, सो नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन, आगे लिखो लॉज ऑफ अ रिफ्लेक्शन, आगे लिखो लॉज ऑफ अ रिफ्लेक्शन। लिखो whenever a light ray is reflected from a reflecting surface, whenever a light ray is reflected from a reflecting surface, the laws of a reflection are always followed. The laws of a reflection are always followed. These laws of a reflections are, क्या law of a reflection है? are number 1, first law लिखो, first law, angle of a incidence is equal to angle of a reflection. First law, angle of a incidence is equal to angle of a reflection. इसका मतलब क्या है? Angle of a incidence is equal to angle of a reflection. You consider, suppose it is a reflecting surface and suppose any light ray is striking like this, ये ऐसे hit किया, the angle between incident ray and the normal to the mirror, means normal to the reflecting surface, is called as the angle of incidence. इसका मतलब अगर यहाँ पर suppose रे हिट कर रहे हैं, दिस इज रिफ्लेक्टिंग सरफेस को अगर मैं परपेंडिकुलर ड्रॉ करूंगा, दिस परपेंडिकुलर लाइन इज कॉल्ड एज द नॉर्मल, दिस इज कॉल्ड एज द नॉर्मल मींस परपेंडिकुलर। द रे बिफोर स्ट्राइकिंग दिस रिफ्लेक्टिंग सरफेस इज कॉल्ड एज द इंसिडेंट रे, द रे बिफोर स्ट्राइकिंग द रिफ्लेक्टिंग सरफेस इज कॉल्ड एज द इंसिडेंट रे, and the ray after striking the reflecting surface is called as the reflected ray, So one is the incident ray and other is the reflected ray. So now there are basically 3 lines. One is the incident ray ka line, normal, and third one is the reflected ray. Angle between incident ray and normal is called as the angle of incidence, and this angle is denoted as a I. But angle between normal and reflected ray is called as the angle of a reflection and is denoted as a R. So first law says that always angle of incidence is equal to angle of a reflection. Always angle of incidence is equal to angle of a reflection. ठीक है? तो I and R का वैल्यू हमेशा सेम रहेगा. तो angle of incidence I is equal to angle of a reflection that is equal to R. तो ये law basically आपको याद रखना है. So first law says that angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Angle of incidence क्या है? That is the angle between incident ray and normal. Angle of reflection क्या है? That is the angle between a reflected ray and the normal. It is the angle between a reflected ray and the normal. अगर मैं यहाँ पर पूछूंगा, suppose angle of incidence is 0, then what will be angle of a reflection? Also it will be 0. इसका मतलब if a ray is striking like this, suppose it is the reflecting surface, if a ray is striking like this, obviously it will return like this, ऐसे ही return करेगा. तो angle of incidence if it is 0, angle of reflection is also 0. Suppose angle of incidence is 90 degree, then angle of reflection is also 90 degree. That is called as the grazing angle of incidence. A grazing angle of incidence. So this is normal here. इसका मतलब ray is striking the mirror almost at an angle of 90 degree. Grazing angle. तो यहाँ पर angle of reflection भी almost यहाँ पर 90 degree बनेगा. So this is 90 degree. This is also 90 degree. लेकिन अगर इन दोनों फिगर में से मैं एक बेसिकली कॉन्सेप्चुअल पॉइंट बताऊंगा. देखो यहाँ पर incident ray का line of propagation is like this. Reflected ray का line of propagation is also in the same direction. When angle of incidence is 90 degree, grazing angle, that is called as the grazing angle. If the ray is striking the mirror at a grazing angle, means the angle of incidence is almost 90 degree. The direction of propagation of incident ray and direction of propagation of reflected ray both are same. If a direction of propagation of incident ray and reflected ray both are same, अगर मैं पूछूंगा what is the angle of deviation of the ray? What is the angle of deviation of the ray? इसका मतलब after it strikes the mirror, what is the angle of deviation? What is the angle rotated by the ray? कितना angle ये rotate किया? Obviously यहाँ पर angle of deviation will be 0. Angle of deviation will be 0. लेकिन in this case, suppose ray is striking the mirror perpendicular to the mirror. इसका मतलब angle of incidence is 0. If angle of incidence is 0, angle of reflection यहाँ पर 0 होगा, लेकिन ray is returning back. इसका मतलब ray is striking like this, but it is returning back. So before striking, the direction of propagation of ray is like this. After this strikes, the direction of propagation of the ray is like this. Then what is the angle of deviation of the ray? What is the angle rotated by the ray? Angle rotated by the ray here it is 180 degree. फॉरवर्ड जा रहा था, अभी रिटर्न आ गया. So angle rotated इसका मतलब जितना एंगल ये टर्न लिया, that angle rotated here it is 180 degree. तो ये ऑब्जेक्ट क्वेश्चन के लिए याद रखना है. For a grazing angle of incidence, for grazing angle of incidence, angle of deviation is equal to 0. But for normal, if a ray is striking the mirror or ray is striking the reflecting surface perpendicular to it, then angle of deviation will be maximum, and this maximum angle of deviation is 180 degree. तो अगर मैं पूछूंगा कौन सा एंगल ऑफ इंसिडेंस के लिए एंगल ऑफ डेविएशन मैक्सिमम होता है, if angle of deviation will be maximum, angle of incidence has to be 0 degree. It has to be 0 degree. इसको लिखो. When a ray strikes the mirror or when a ray strikes the reflecting surface at a grazing angle, when a ray strikes the reflecting surface at a grazing angle, within bracket लिखो, angle of incidence is a 90 degree. Angle of incidence is a 90 degree. Bracket close. The reflected ray propagates in the same direction of an incident ray. The reflected ray propagates in the same direction of an incident ray, and angle of deviation of the ray is 0. Angle of deviation of the ray is 0. Again, if a ray strikes the reflecting surface perpendicular to it, if a ray strikes the reflecting surface perpendicular to it, within bracket लिखो, I is equal to 0, means the angle of incidence is 0. Bracket close. The ray after reflection is returned back in opposite direction. The ray after reflection is returned back in opposite direction, and hence the angle of deviation is 180 degree, and this is the maximum angle of deviation. 180 degree, and this is the maximum angle of deviation. तो maximum angle of deviation के लिए angle of incidence is 0 degree. Minimum angle of deviation के लिए angle of incidence will be 90 degree. लेकिन अगर मैं पूछूंगा suppose angle of incidence is not 0 degree or not 90 degree, any other angle of incidence is let us say theta, in that case how to calculate angle of deviation? You see in this figure, this is incident ray. इसका मतलब incident ray का line of action it is like this. This is the reflected ray. This angle will be called as the angle of deviation. Means after ray is striking, the angle rotated by the ray with respect to the original direction will be this much. So this is angle of deviation. तो ये angle of deviation का general formula क्या होगा? This total angle is a pi here 180 degree. If this is I, this is R, लेकिन हमें पता है this total angle will be equal to 2I because I is equal to R. तो angle of deviation का general formula delta is equal to 180 degree minus 2I. This is 180 degree minus 2I. ये general formula याद रखना है. Angle of deviation of the ray after it strikes a reflecting surface in general is 180 degree minus 2I, where I is the angle of incidence, where I is the angle of incidence. ठीक है? तो ये general formula याद रखना है. ये two special cases इसको भी याद रखना है. So this is all about the first law. अभी second law लिखो. second law लिखो, incident ray, a reflected ray and a normal. Incident ray, a reflected ray and a normal will always lie in the same plane. Incident ray, a reflected ray and a normal will always lie in the same plane. देखो incident ray, reflected ray, normal ये हमेशा एक ही प्लेन में रहेगा. ये हमेशा एक ही प्लेन में रहेंगे. ये कभी दो या तीन प्लेन में हो नहीं सकते. So always incident ray, reflected ray and a normal will be in the same plane. तो ये simple definition of the second law has to be remembered. So two laws, angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection, and second law is incident ray, reflected ray and a normal are always a coplanar, will be always lying in the same plane. ये दो law याद रखना है. Deviation वाला यहाँ से ऑब्जेक्टिव क्वेश्चन आता है, इसको भी याद रखना है. ठीक है? And grazing angle of incidence का मतलब क्या है? नॉर्मल एंगल ऑफ इंसिडेंस इसका मतलब क्या है? ये सब चीज याद रखना है. ठीक है? ओके, सो नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन आगे लिखो मिरर. राइट डाउन मिरर. मिरर क्या है? मिरर का डेफिनेशन क्या है? इसको लिखो. देखो, इट इज ए हाईली पॉलिश्ड, इट इज ए हाईली पॉलिश्ड स्मूथ सरफेस. इट इज ए हाईली पॉलिश्ड स्मूथ सरफेस फ्रॉम व्हिच most of the incident light energy is reflected back. From which most of the incident light energy is reflected back. इसका मतलब up to 98%, up to 98% या फिर more than 90% of a light energy is reflected back, so that smooth and shining surface is called as the mirror. Types of a mirror. Next, write down types of a mirror. So there are basically two types of mirror. One is a plane mirror. And the second one is a spherical mirror. One is a plane mirror and other is the spherical mirror. Plane mirror means the surface of the mirror is a flat. Plane mirror इसका लिखो, the surface of the mirror is flat. The surface of the mirror it is flat, so that is called as the plane mirror. So plane mirror को normally हम ऐसे represent करेंगे. देखो जिस साइड में बेसिकली शेडिंग होता है उसका ऑपोजिट साइड में हमेशा रिफ्लेक्शन होगा. इसका मतलब रिफ्लेक्शन ये साइड में नहीं है, रिफ्लेक्शन हमेशा इस साइड में होगा. सो इफ दिस इज इंसिडेंट रे, दिस विल बी द रिफ्लेक्टेड रे. आगे देखो स्फेरिकल मिरर. द मिरर ऑफ व्हिच द रिफ्लेक्टिंग सरफेस इज स्फेरिकल इन नेचर. तो इसका मतलब ऐसे बनेगा. This is spherical. In general, this is the spherical surface. ऐसा हो सकता है या फिर ऐसा हो सकता है. Plane mirror and spherical mirror. Again, spherical mirrors are of two types. हमें पता है spherical mirrors are of two types. One is the concave mirror and other is the convex mirror. लिखो spherical mirrors are of two types. One is a concave mirror. And the second one is a convex mirror. Concave mirror and a convex mirror. Concave mirror क्या है? Concave mirror, it is the spherical surface. It is the spherical surface of which inner surface is a reflecting one. ये वाला. Inner surface is a reflecting one. That is the concave mirror. And जिस mirror के लिए outer surface is a reflecting one, that is called as the convex mirror. तो लिखो इसको concave mirror. It is a spherical mirror. Of which the inner surface is a reflecting one. That is the concave mirror. Convex mirror. आगे लिखो convex mirror. It is a spherical mirror of which the outer surface is a reflecting one. So here it is the inner surface is a reflecting one, and here it is the outer surface is reflecting one. इसके सामने ये वाला फिगर ड्रॉ करो, that is the concave mirror. इसके सामने ये वाला फिगर ड्रॉ करो, that is the convex mirror. So mirrors are of basically three types. One is a plane mirror, concave mirror and a convex mirror. ये तीनों मिरर को याद रखना है, ठीक है.